Bridget here of Rooted Sky Homestead, and today we are making some yummy sauteed greens. Here we have, they're starting to wilt a little bit because I just went foraging a couple hours ago. So here we have garlic mustard, and many of us who have garlic mustard in our bioregions know this as a non-native invasive, okay? But it is in the mustard family. So think broccoli, kale. It has a little bit of a bitterness to it, a little bit of a bite. You can take the seed pods when they're mature and make mustard out of them. They're actually quite delicious. Now, we gathered a lot of the garlic mustard because I'm going to saute these down. And look at that. Do you know this plant? So I'm really excited because this is my first season of harvesting nettle. And you can see all of these little spikes on the stem, and they're on the underside of the leaves as well. So nettle is one of those plants that keeps you mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Today I said if your food doesn't bite you back, then it's not alive. There is something really special to harvesting foods that have a little bit of a punch. Rose, thistle, nettle. What else has given me a nip? There's other ones, but yeah, it's important. Like, that's a part of the process. It's a part of the interaction with the plant, right? So I could wear gloves and I could completely desensitize myself to what nettle has to offer. But that sting, right? After it happened, my skin started to swell a little bit. And what I noticed is the blood flow that took place in that area. So I'm actually going to use some of the stems on places that have felt stagnant and they're bothersome on my body. So I will get back to you on how that feels. So I'm going to start de-stemming the nettle and the garlic mustards and get these in the pan to saute. Here we go. Okay, so I am de-stemming the garlic mustards, and you can do it very similarly to when you de-stem kale. So find the nice hardy spot on the stem and begin to work your hand down. And I'm going to keep the flowers and the tips in the mix here. And I'm using butter in a saute pan. I was going to use tallow, but I decided not to because sometimes tallow can have a little bit of a strong flavor with delicate greens. And I really want to taste the nettle since this is my first time working with it fresh. I've been working with nettle for a couple of years now, dried. I have nettle tea several times a week. It's very nourishing. But this will be my first time working with it fresh. Now, if you want to taste, excuse me, if you want to taste the nettle leaf fresh, take it off the stem and rub it between your hands like this. Because what you want to do is break down all of those fine hairs. Okay, so just keep rubbing it in your hands and then you can pop it in your mouth. And I encourage you to try it fresh once just so you know what the flavor profile is. Okay, so we're going to start de-stemming the nettle leaves, and with these I'm going to be a little bit more gentle. I'm just going to take the leaf off of the stem. Now the stems you can save and work with once they're dried. They're really good for fiber art. So the interior part of the nettle can be broken down and to make like cordage. See, this is a nice thick stem. This would make a lot of good cordage. And look, here we have a little ground ivy that got in there. Isn't she pretty? Nettle likes to grow in partial shade and a damp environment. So when you're out in the woods, you may want to circle around an area where there's dampness and partially shady. What else was growing around her today? Lots of garlic mustard. There were ajugas, which are in the mint family. Bugleweed, it's also known as bugleweed. And the plant can get pretty tall. I mean, some of these are about 1.5 feet tall. Okay, I'm just going to keep working here. I'm trying to remember the story that was told to me around the nettle plant. Nettle used to be a different color and thornless, right? It didn't have these little fine spiny hairs on it. But because nettle became over-harvested, again, because it's such a nutritious plant, it has so many properties in it that are good for our bodies, and it became a favorite and was over-harvested. So in order to hide, the color changed, and it also grew these hairs on it. Now, when you think about why a plant would adapt in such a way, right, to mask herself and mimic other things to go unnoticed, there's a lot of intelligence in that. And there's also self-protection, right? So each time I get a little sting, it makes me think about what are the ways that I'm protecting myself from things that are maybe a little threatening or uncomfortable. You know, being harvested to near extinction, you know, what would that bring up for me in my own family line? So it has me thinking about several things that are important when it comes to lineage and access and what's being provided, right? And why is someone seeking it out? I try not to harvest things that don't attract me. I don't harvest them because, oh, it's dandelion season, or oh, it's hawthorn season, or oh, it's elderberry season. I wait and I listen for when my body says, I need this. And then I go and look for the plant. Every now and again I'm caught off guard because I didn't know that I needed something, and it'll make itself very pronounced to me. Kind of like the ajuga plant keeps getting my attention this year. So I need to really sit and meditate with that plant and learn what it's trying to offer me. There's seldom, I should say, I won't say never, but there's seldom an interaction that is without purpose. So just keep that in mind as a forager and a wild food harvester. Okay, so the butter is ready to receive these greens. I'm so excited. Are you excited? Okay, let's get cooking. Look at that bounty. Yum! All right, here we go. They're going in. And you know, I was thinking, what does the sting of stinging nettle remind me of? And it very much reminds me, there we go. It very much reminds me of the sting, not the sting, but if you were going to get a little love tap from someone that wanted you to pay attention, right? So if you were in school and you heard the ruler hit the desk and it kind of startles you, that's what the sting reminds me of. It's like, Bridge, where are you right now? Pay attention. This is important. So we're just going to let these start wilting down. I have a fair amount of butter in the pan. I did not add any seasonings yet because I want to taste the flavor profile once they're wilted and see what will be added. I'll know more when I can taste them better. All right, so they're still getting their wilt on, and I've added a little bit of the water from the egg noodles that I'll be putting these greens atop here very soon. And lemon keeps coming to mind, that a nice acid of lemon would be a good touch. So we'll be adding some lemon and a little bit of salt and pepper. We are almost there. Don't they look delicious? The aroma is very enticing as well. Kind of reminds me of spinach, just a little bit, and a little bit of kale. And there you have it. Oops. So we have egg noodle with garlic mustard, stinging nettle, butter, a little bit of salt. I actually don't have lemon, so I use lime. This should be interesting. And bon appetit. So cheers to wild foraging season and nourishing our bodies with very, very wise, ancient, and intelligent plants. So delicious. If you get a chance, get outside, find yourself a stinging nettle patch, some wild garlic mustards, and enjoy. Mwah.